All right, we're live. We're live.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and thank you for joining us again. I am Dr. Nicole. We truly appreciate you all for tuning in for episode 11 of Shop Talk. This is going to be an amazing discussion, possibly trigger warning, so I do want to say take breaks as needed throughout this show. This discussion entails an all-male panel. Hopefully, it would draw about opportunities, creative ideas of how to work towards breaking the stigma towards men and their wellness.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Wanda, and I'm also here with lovely co-host
Bree the Juice Lady, y'all. How y'all doing today? Thank you for tuning in to Shop Talk.
Absolutely, and we just wanted to make sure that you're aware that although we had a little technical difficulty, we're ready to break into some uncharted space here. So thank you so much for tuning in and being patient with us during this process. So we have the honor and privilege of being here with three phenomenal men, three handsome young men here, and we just wanted to give them the opportunity to speak, share their stories, share their time with you today and with us, and we're so glad to have them. So I'm going to actually point starting from the left so they can introduce themselves. We have...
Hi, my name is Mondrea Hasty.
I'm Tyrell James.
And I'm Tyrell Reid.
And that's probably going to be about the easiest question that you guys are going to have today. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I said, there's a little hesitancy there. All right. Well, we definitely welcome you to Shop Talk today and for being on our panel of men who are sharing of themselves, and we certainly appreciate you. You have our ear.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Aren't we kind? All right, well, let's get into some things. Are you guys ready to get into some things?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Well, let's go with the first statistic of the day. Depression is one of the most common mental illnesses in the United States. It affects a sum of over 17 million people every year. Black men are more likely to suffer from depression, but less likely to get help from it. So today, and I'm sorry, Dr. Nicole, did you also have an additional statistic in regards to suicide and depression and how it relates?
Yes, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, most men die as a result of depression, unresolved seeking of help, a lack of support. In the United States alone, that number is 6 million. That is a large number and weighed on my heart when I found that statistic underneath of the numbers. In addition to that, the individual men that do not die as a result of suicide, approximately 60,000 of those individuals suffer from some substance use disorder and alcoholism. And why are these numbers important for our viewers that's tuning in and for our male panel? Women are only at 26,000 to suffer from substance use disorder or alcoholism. That puts y'all at a 36,000 increase of women.
Wow. Those are really scary statistics. And because we have those sort of statistics out there, we already know that those are just the reported numbers. So the scary thing is that it's even higher than that.
Right.
So that's, we definitely are happy to have you here because we never want you to ever be at the point that you feel like you have to keep things to yourself. There's always somebody that you can talk to, and I often tell people, you may not have people that reach out to you. However, when you know that you are in a position where you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it.
Right.
Somebody's going to listen, somebody's going to be there. Even if your mind is playing tricks with you, just reach out and talk to somebody. So today we just want to open it up and talk about how grief has impacted you in so many different phases and aspects of your life. I know that you can't be a human being and live on this earth without suffering a loss. So I just wanted to start with, earlier before the show started, I was able to speak with a couple of you, And I know some of you personally, so I know you've suffered some loss. 2 of you suffered a loss of mothers. So I just wanted to start with you 2 first to see just how the loss of a mother has impacted you as men. So if we could start with Mondrea first.
Well, when I lost my mother, it was 1982. And back then, I want to say the stigmatism of black people who don't get therapy was really high. So there was no counseling, there was nobody to talk to, there was me getting in trouble for it. So, for instance, my mother died July 4th, 1982. The following year, school year, get through most of the school year, okay. Mother's Day rolls around. The teacher comes to me and says, you know, we're making Mother's Day cards, I need you to make a card for your mother. I didn't have a mother to make a card for. And I didn't feel like I had to explain that to her. So I simply said, I'm not making one. Without her asking me why, without her caring why, she immediately, if you don't do this card, you're going to get a paddling. This is when corporal punishment was in school. So instead of her taking the time to find out why I didn't want to make this card, I got a paddling. The next day, same scenario. You're going to make this card. I'm not going to make this card. I get a paddling, and then I'm taken to the principal's office. Mm-hmm. When I get to the principal's office, he and my father happen to be lodge brothers. He knew me. He knew the situation. So when she explained to him, he's not making this Mother's Day card, he took the liberty to tell her because his mother's deceased. Then it was, oh, I'm so sorry, but there still was no, well, let's find a way to help this kid. And when I went back to class, instead of me making a Mother's Day card, I ended up drawing a casket. I remember this. I drew a casket on it, and I wrote R.I.P. Mom on top of it, and the teacher took my recess away. Mm. The following year, 2nd grade, the assistant teacher, you need to work on this Mother's Day card. I'm not making a Mother's Day card. Unfortunately, that particular year, my 2nd grade teacher, whose name was Miss Douglas, she came into the room and she was aware of what was going on, and so she sat down and said, well, you know, isn't your sister a mother? And I was like, yeah. She said, well, make your sister a Mother's Day card. And from that point on, that's what I did. So for me, I never really dealt with my mom's death until I got to, I'm going to say a senior in high school. We had to write a senior paper about a significant life experience. And at that time, aside from running track and playing football or singing or whatever, the most significant life experience I could think of was losing her. So I wrote about it. And that was the first time I really talked about it in any capacity, because prior to that point, I had never been given the opportunity. And I ended up taking that same paper a year later in college and rewriting it and turning it in again. And again, it was a form of therapy because I'm releasing and I'm talking about things and I'm talking about a memory that I couldn't share that with anybody else. Like, the only person that was there when this happened was my dad. You know, like when my mom died, to give a background story, she had a massive heart attack. But when she died, I was in the bed with her. I was beside her. Mm. Never heard a peep. You know what I'm saying? Woke up the next morning. So the way it worked in my household, on Sundays, my dad would wake me and my mom up. He would always take like a feather, something crazy, come around, tickle your foot, make you wake up. So he woke me up. So he was like, hey, take this and wake your mom up. So I'm twiddling with the feather. I'm all on her foot. I get all up on her ear. I'm all on her face with it. So I go in the bathroom using her shaving. I said, Dad, she won't wake up. He was like, climb on top of her and slap her in the face. She'll get up there. And I said, oh, I ain't slapping Mama. You know what I'm saying? I went back down the hallway, and I shook her again, and she didn't move. Okay, something's not right. Still warm, still, you know, pliable, like, but she just wasn't responding. So I went, got my dad, Dad comes down the hall, and then he sends me out the door to go get one of her friends that lived a couple doors down. Long story short, I remember the hearse came to our house before the ambulance came to our house. I remember my dad running outside and cussing the guy out, and he got into a big argument, and he left. And then I remember them bringing her out of the bedroom on the stretcher. She wasn't covered up or nothing, she just had the blanket across her. And he rolled her out. She looked normal, she looked fine, just like she was still asleep. Maybe an hour goes by, and that's when he tells me, sits me down in the living room, he says, "Let me tell you something." He's like, "Your mother is dead." And he said it with a real straight face, and I noticed he didn't look at me. And I kind of leaned over to see what his response was, because I remember like a year prior, my grandfather died, and he didn't cry. Like he was just, and I remember hearing my mom say, "You gotta be strong for your daddy because he's going through it right now." So when she died, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, okay, I gotta be strong for daddy. And I guess in my mind, that's what I did by never bringing it up, because at her funeral is the first time I saw him cry. And I realized he don't want to talk about it. So that ruled out having anybody to talk to about it, period. And then, like, you know, when you get older, you start getting involved with people, people would ask questions, and I would kind of dance around it because it still hurt.
Yeah.
There's no way to explain to somebody how that really feels. Like, up until the day she died, I spent every day with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, Daddy worked. Mommy was on the sick side. So the time that I would get to spend with him would be like Saturday afternoon and Sunday. Monday through Friday, I don't see this man. He's working. He's providing. He's doing what men do. When she died, I'm in the house with a stranger now. We didn't have a buddy kind of relationship. It was, that's Dad. Dad's home. Dad's tired. Okay, it's time for Dad to watch the news. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, there was no, that's my daddy. It's, that's Dad, you know? So when she died, he had to figure out a way to establish a relationship with me. And I had to figure out a way to accept him.
I'm glad that you said that, because we're going to come back to that very statement that you just made. I'm sorry you went through that at such a young age, and I commend you for being able to even talk about it today with such clarity, because that means you were able to retain all of that memory of your mom, even though that was a very tumultuous moment for you, that you were, the fact that you could even remember everything so vividly. Yeah, that's an testament to your healing journey as well.
Unfortunately, though, the double-edged sword to that is a lot of my memories are that day. I remember, like, for instance, it was the full 24-hour span. The day before, we went to a family reunion. Cool. My mom's side of the family. A lot of people I didn't know still don't know. And then later on that day, me, her, and my dad went to the park. Something we never did. Hung out at the park for a couple hours, played, had a ball. Went home that night, regular night, and every night, just like clockwork, got into bed, said my prayers, got into bed, and she sang me to sleep. Last thing I heard her say was, "I love you, Mondrea." So there's the sweet part of the memory, but then there's the bitter part of the memory. Because the next day, there's no more "I love you, Mondrea." And the value of "I love you, Mondrea" went completely out the window for years.
Keep that right there. Keep that right there, because it's a lot. That's a lot. So we're also going to hear from Al, because I know you lost your mom, maybe not at a young age, but can you tell us a little bit about that and how it has impacted you as a man on your journey in life?
I lost my mom's around, it's been about 8 years now. Yeah, about 8 years, almost 9. And I'm still dealing with it, honestly. Because I got hit, maybe a year before that from my sister. My sister passed. So my sister, me and her was like, we were like twins. So I was trying to heal from that. Then my mom's. So it just was too much. I'm still hurting from it, you know. And then my other sister passed. So I'm still dealing with that, you know. But and this was recent. Was it about 2 years, 3 years now? Yeah. And me and her was tight. But when my mother passed, I was living in New York, and I actually was in school. I was going to electrical school, and you know she was she had an aneurysm. So we was going back and forth to the hospital, back and forth, and so I had drove to Delaware because I had a house in Delaware, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be back tomorrow. And my sister called me and was like, yo, she didn't make it. I'm like, oh man. Wow. And so I'm like, yo, I'm gonna come up there. So I drove to New York, and I drove up there, but I don't even know how I made it up there, honestly. Like, I don't even know how I made it up there, but I made it up there. And it just was tough dealing with that and not really healing from my other sister. But during that time, I found myself, she was buried in Virginia. So I found myself driving to Virginia maybe twice a week, just going to the grave, just sitting there. Where she's at, there's no lights or nothing back there. So when you back there, you stop. I mean, you see him back there, you stop. There's nothing back there. I found myself going back there all the time, just driving and just like stop. Like,
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
When you were sitting there, did you find yourself talking to her?
That time, yeah, absolutely.
And did you ever feel guilty when you didn't go?
Yeah.
See that part.
That.
Yeah, that part.
And I mean, it was tough.
Who was your sounding board? Who was the person that you relied on to help you to get through that at that time? Was there any one person?
I mean, my god brother, he was, you know, he was real straight with me and helped me out, talking to me. Then my best friend, he was there as well. But by them still talking to me, helping me, I still was stuck, you know. But no, I ain't going want to jump off no cliff, but I still was hurting real bad. But I still was hurting, you know. But it just took me a while to like heal, like really heal. But like I said, I'm still dealing with it, but it's not as bad. Not as bad because I had little talks to myself, you know, like, hey man, yo, you got to get up, man, you know. Because I had to get myself back in school because I wanted to finish school. Because when I started going to school, she was like, yeah, that's good. Yeah, go back to school and, you know, go finish getting your degree. Because I had already got one degree. And I was like, no, I'm going to get another degree. She was like, oh, yeah, go get your degree. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get it. I said, I'm trying to do something right. But it was a lot, man. Like, a lot. But I got through it little at a time, and it's a process.
Yeah.
When I mean it's process, it's a big process, man. It's It's not no, hey, I'm good today. But I was telling people I was good. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
A lot of times, though, you are for a moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then you get by yourself.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to tell you what really gets you. It's the milestone moments. Like, graduating from high school. You look around like, dang, I wish mom was here. Right. Had your first child, like, damn, wish mom was here. When first time I held my daughters, the first thing I said, damn, boy, Aunt Hasty would have loved this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those moments where now I'm able to kind of think about, like, that would have been cool. But at 10, 12, 15, you know, you win your first track meet, and you see everybody else, mom, oh, baby, I'm surprised you. Like, you know what I mean? It's tough. And I don't think it gets easier no matter how old you are. You can be 50. Right. That means you spent a lifetime with that person. You know what I'm saying?
So, T, did you have anyone as a sounding board, like someone that you could kind of confide in a little bit, like a friend, or just to, you know, talk?
At first, no. I was a little sheltered, and the friends of mine that were around that really knew what was going on, it affected them too. Because she was like a second mom to them, so none of us talked about it until we got older, and it was like, man, I remember when your mom died. And then that opened up a conversation, and then that's when I realized, oh, you felt something, you know what I mean? But we were grown men by then, you know what I'm saying? And then like at 6, who do you talk to? You know what I'm saying? And again, in our community, going to a therapist back then, like, this nigga crazy. That's what we all thought, yeah. So that wasn't even a thought. And then my parents were older, so when I was born, Jack Hasty was 58. You know what I mean? So when I came into the house, I'm coming into a house with older people who definitely have that mindset of, oh, we ain't going to therapy. If I can't beat it out you, or take you to church and pray it out you, and the devil can have you. So, yeah.
So question for each of you men. Why are men so reluctant to go to therapy and or talk to someone seeking support?
That's going to be the next question. But first let's get to Tyrell, because I know earlier in the show, I'm sorry about that, because I know you couldn't hear me.
Are you really sorry? Because you did. Are you really? Are you really?
Well, not really, but I mean, for the show, I'm going to say I'm sorry. Had to break the monotony. So Tyrell, I know when I spoke with you before the show started, you had mentioned that you lost your father. Can you tell us how about that and how it impacted you as a man as you continue to go on?
So my father passed from cancer. In the weeks leading up to him passing, actually, when he first went to the hospital, we had no idea exactly what was going on. One day the doctor comes to me and he says, listen, I got to be completely honest with you. He said, it won't be long. I'm like, what you mean it won't be long? And this was about 10 years ago. I said, okay. I said, how long? And he said, weeks to a month. And I said, okay. I immediately start going into protective mode. I'm thinking about all of the people that that's going to affect, completely disregarding how it's going to affect me. And I was like, okay, I need to, my sister, this is going to be devastating to her. My mother, my children, I'm just thinking about them. So I decided to just put on this front. And at nighttime, when nobody was around, I was just going to break down and just cry. But what I decided to do was every night I would pray for understanding and I would pray for peace. And every morning that I woke up, I had more understanding and more peace. And I never actually broke down. So 2 days before my father passed, at this point he's in the nursing home, completely unresponsive. My mother came to me, she said, baby, it's time to release him. Because, I believe that oftentimes as, when our loved ones are transitioning, they won't let go because we won't So sometimes we just need to let them know it's okay to go. So I went down now. Keep in mind, I said he's completely unresponsive. I got down on my knees and started whispering in his ear, and I said, Daddy, I said, you have been an amazing father. You have raised me to be an amazing father. And then I started making all of these promises to him. I promise you, I'm going to take care of sis. I'm going to take care of mommy. I'm going to take care of, my children. And just I said, I'm going to be the man that you raised me to be. I'm going to be a successful businessman. Putting all of these things out there. And I said, okay. And he said, okay, man. Remember, he's unresponsive.
Oh, wow.
I said, I love you, Daddy. He said, I love you too, man. That was the last words that we ever spoke to each other.
Wow.
2 days later, he passed. Now, that day I had a football game. I ended up tearing ligaments in my ankle. So I was on crutches when I came back. It was 2 days later on a Monday. I'm on crutches. Of course, it's taking me a little longer to get to his room. And just as I'm getting to the room, my aunt is walking out of the room, and she says, "I'm so glad that you came when you did. Had you walked in here 5 seconds earlier, you would have heard him take his last breath." And I said, "Okay, cool. First of all, thank you, Daddy, because you know that I couldn't handle that. I didn't need to hear you take your last breath. I appreciate that." I went in there, I looked at him, I didn't cry. Again, I had been praying for peace, for understanding. Every day I woke up, I had more peace. I had more understanding. That doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. I just had peace and understanding in the midst of the pain. So, funeral comes, again, I didn't cry. Walking around being there for everybody else. For the next few years, I would go to the cemetery 3 times a year. His birthday, the day he passed, Father's Day. Probably around that 4-year point, I'm out there, and I believe it was the day that he passed. And I just broke down. I cried hard, and at this point I hadn't cried yet. And I cried harder than I had ever cried in my life. And as I'm crying, I was realizing I'm purging. I've been through a lot of things. I started going through, and what you say, your story about therapy, I don't have that story because I started going through things at a very young age. My parents had to put me in therapy. I was 12 years old. I really should have started at 10. But I was just introduced to some things. There were some things that were happening, murders of friends. I'm seeing the bodies. And the person that killed them is apparent in my mind, and what I was told, they were after me. At 10 years old, I'm paranoid. I'm depressed, and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I was a manic depressive at 12 years old, but they said it started at 10, and with anxiety. A couple years later, I'm about to get real transparent here. So I was, not without going into all of the details, I was hearing voices. I ended up going to the Psychiatric Institute of Washington at 14 years old. So now I'm diagnosed with as manic depressive with schizophrenic episodes and anxiety as well. Now, through all of this, my father is my Superman. My mother is my Superwoman. When my father passed, so years later, and at this point in my life, I have manic depressive, schizophrenic episodes, PTSD, because there were those things that I said in the beginning, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I went through a lot of things after that, a lot of things, but I always had my Superman. So when my Superman died, I wasn't ready to be Superman. So as I'm sitting there purging, I'm realizing I was going through everything that I had ever been through in my life. I'm just replaying it all in my head. And I'm like, I'm not ready to be Superman. I'm not ready to take that on yet. But I have no choice. I have no choice. I got to do it. I got to figure this out. And I purged, and I purged, and I purged, and I just let it all out. After that, I decided to go ahead and be Superman. I decided to just go ahead and do it. Now, that doesn't mean that you're invincible, because Superman has his kryptonite. But what I realized is that I needed to continue to pray for peace and for understanding, because now I need a different level of peace and understanding.
Okay. Stop right there for a second. And getting that different level of peace and understanding, what was that question that you asked?
Why are men so? Why are men? Y'all see how they be joking me all the time.
Cry for not having a microphone, but no one talking to the mic when you got one.
We would have that discussion off the air. Sip your coffee. Why are men reluctant to seek therapy, ask for help, or get a support system when they're going through stressful or painful situations?
So with that said, for Mondrea, when you were going through and, your mom nothing was intentional, all right? She couldn't be there for you for your graduation, for the birth of your first child, for the games. Was there ever a time that, and even with the teacher who missed the opportunity to help you, even back then, because instead of her looking at the coffin and the RIP on it, that should have been her opportunity to see that that was a cry for help. So she missed that opportunity. You could have been on your healing journey much earlier. So with that said, in regards to therapy, you said that was in 1982, 84?
1982, yeah.
So that was, I didn't know anything about therapy until I was probably 13, 14, something like that, and we didn't get it. So with regards to her question, did you at some point seek therapy, and how has it been helpful to you?
Therapy didn't come into play until I was mid-20s, late 20s. I was introduced to a young lady named Mary at a very early age. Rick James sang about her, Mary Jane.
She had some age on her. Yeah, she got some age on her.
Green eyes, and sometimes you want to see. Well, not now. But anyway, I learned how to self-medicate early. I learned how to block things out because, I don't know, for me, and I think for a lot of young black men, you start seeing dead bodies at an early age, and not in the casket, I mean in the street. I've seen a guy, he got shot so many times, and people went to pick him up, put him in the bag, the body separated. You know what I mean? Like, these are traumatic experiences that you experienced in the hood, quote unquote, that you're never going to get therapy for. Nobody talks about it. Everybody sees it, and it becomes commonplace. So like I said, for me, it was not seeking help. It was just forget about it, block it out. You can't act like it didn't happen, because you still got to be alert. You still got to know what's going on. You still got to walk these same streets, but I want to be able to relax while I'm walking these streets. So I'm going to smoke this joint, I'm going to smoke this blunt, I'm going to hit this bong, whatever. I'm going to start drinking at an early age. I'm going to do all these things that they tell you not to do. The hell with just say no. I'm going to still be able to smoke this blunt and run track and play football and come home and deal with this bullshit that's going on in my neighborhood or in my household, and I'm all right. I don't got to go talk to nobody, because, again, me going to talk to somebody means they're going to put your crazy ass in a straitjacket once you start talking. So leave them white folks alone, because that's how we label it. Leave them white folks alone and go on about your business, you know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's the case with every black guy. Like, And then you get to a point in life where you don't have time for that. You're working, you're providing for your family, you're trying to stay off the radar. You know, what's the most popular thing amongst older black men? Hey man, what you been doing? Man, going to work, going home. That's the only way you can be safe, or feel safe, or feel protected. You can't depend on this person over here because they're doing the same thing. They're going through the same struggles. You can't. And then when it comes to a woman, in a lot of instances, you can't show that vulnerability because they're looking at you and say, oh, this sweet nigga, he all emotional, but then the first thing you say is, I want an emotionally intelligent man.
I like that you said that.
That's
Keep
true.
that there, because you're treading right into.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
The minute you see him sitting over in the corner and feeling a little down, oh, this nigga.
All right.
Everybody's not bringing home 6 figures and 6 foot tall and got the house already in the Maserati. And, you know, if he already got that, baby, why he need you?
Oh, okay.
What do you bring to the table if he got all of that?
Why, thank you. That's good.
I'm just saying that, but that's what you run into. That's when you start getting into emotions, then you start getting into schematics. So if I'm going to be vulnerable, then I have to be, all my ducks better be in a row for me to show her that I'm vulnerable too.
That's true.
Because if I show the vulnerability first, she's never going to see the other stuff.
All right. Well, hold it right there. This is good. What y'all think? This is good. This is good.
Yeah, I have a question though, for both of you. He was talking about how marijuana was his coping mechanism at that time. Did you have a coping mechanism to help you as well as you?
I had several.
And tie that right into the therapy question as well.
Several.
I'm leave it at that. I had several.
Okay. Well, we kind of don't want to leave it right there. Is there like 1 or 2 things, safe things that you would be willing to share? Because somebody, when you're dealing with especially loss, and I'm glad we started there, because especially in this day and time, you got young boys who are losing their fathers at an early age. You got young boys who are losing their parents, whether it's mother or father, to, it's almost like the equivalent of a loss because they're out here on drugs or, other things. So it's really good to give as much information as we possibly can and still don't let it tread on your health journey is what kind of we want to get to.
I self-medicated. Yeah, I would prefer not to go into details, but I did self-medicate. I will say that I did self-medicate. And it was, you get to a point where you wake up and you are like pissed at yourself, like, why do I keep doing this? It's, my mother told me at a very young age, if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got. And I keep waking up expecting something different. It's the definition of insanity, so eventually I had to get to a point when also, the other thing is I'm a creator. And it was, sometimes I was trying to trick myself into thinking that this was helping the creation process. So now, my way of self-medicating, I'm lying to myself. I'm more creative when I do this. Or I can step into the studio and I'll rap it.
But I still gotta hide it.
Yeah, I still gotta hide it.
I can't be out front with it.
I can't let anybody know what I'm doing. And that was the thing. Nobody knew anything. Nobody knew anything. One thing I will say this. Women. I had a lot of women. And at times I was trying to find peace from a peace. But I was
Keep it real, man.
But I would just find what was interesting. You said something about the women saying that you can't be vulnerable with with a lot of women. I had a woman ask me one time. She said, What is one of the most important things that you look for in a woman? And I said, I need a woman that knows that even in my moments of weakness, that I'm not weak.
Bam.
I kept running into women that felt like in my moments of weakness,
I'm weak.
no, that I was not weak. And I used that to manipulate them.
That's good. Can you keep that right there, because y'all are really all up on our questions, and that's a good thing. So the same thing for you, Al.
I ain't self-medicating.
Did you use women?
But I used to self-medicate, used to, but I stopped. But one way how I dealt with it was I traveled. I was going somewhere every week. Just go, whoop, gone.
Now, did you feel like you were running? Is that why you traveled? You were running from it?
Kind of, sort of, but it really helped me.
Did being away, I'm gonna say, did being away feel better?
It helped, yeah. It helped a lot. Like, I would just go, like, all right, I'm going here. Or I get to the airport, be like, what, do y'all have a flight leaving right now? We have a few flights leaving where? I'm like, all right, I'm going there. All right, I'm gone.
When you would get back, would it feel like you was coming back to like a darkness or something, like it was heavy?
When I came back, I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, all right, where I'm going next?
Can't
Ready
wait
to go
again. Right.
Like, so I was going somewhere like every week. I was going traveling so much where they had me on a watch list. It's like, hey,
this nigga not right.
I'm serious, for real. No, all those sound for real. Because I was.
Let's not incriminate ourselves. All
All
right.
No, but
Where were you on that?
But you know, I just was going, and by me going so much, like when I was going through the airport, they knew me. Hey, Miss Sabrina, what's up? Oh, come on this line, come over here. What flight you going? I'm like, I don't know. I said, oh, I'm going over there. They take me right through.
Well, I
So
want to
that's
know
how I dealt with it.
how you were doing all this traveling. You didn't even have a life before me.
It's easy to think that you're
I had no life before me.
That's what she always said.
single. Stick with it.
None of that matters.
So that was my way of dealing with it, you know.
Did you ever think about therapy, or anybody ever try to get you to go to therapy?
I did think about it. And actually, one day I was in California, and I met this lady, and she was a therapist, and I actually met her. I was in the Bellevue Center, and I was just walked around playing around, And she said, "Oh, look like you're having fun." I said, "You gotta have fun,
Especially in the Bethlehem Center.
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, are you from out here?" I'm like, "Kind of, sort of, but not really," because Cali is my second home. So we was talking, and then she was explaining some things to me. Yeah, I'm a therapist. I can do something there. I said, "Bro, shit, I can help me out a little bit." She said, "Yeah, we all going through something." My bad. Oh man, my bad. Shoot, bing bong. So like she was talking to me about some different things, trying to help me. But I had only seen her like 2 times, and then that was it. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm good, But she did, help talk to me just a little bit, because I didn't want to stay around her too much, because I felt like I gotta move. Let me move, because sitting down, starting just feeling funny.
Yeah, you get too much. Yeah, you digging too much.
Right, but it did help a little bit, and then I just continue on with my journeys, But for me, traveling it really did help, like a lot. Like it helped a lot.
Because you're able to keep up with your mind. Your mind is always on the go now. You're moving too, and it's like, I'm doing something. I'm being productive, even if I'm just wasting time and money. I'm not there doing it. And that was what was big for me, like not being in that spot, in that place. Like, okay, I'm here. I'm working for the next week and a half, and then I'm gonna be in Atlanta for 4 or 5 days. I come back, I'm gonna work another week and a half. We're gonna go back to Atlanta because it was fun the last time.
She was in Magic City.
Yeah. We know what was going on there.
I was in the recording studio too, but you know, there were a few parties, and there was some clapping, some money floating. It's kind of the atmosphere.
And you know, a few days ago, I was talking to my daughters, right? And they say, you don't never cry, do you? Do you ever cry? I'm like, hell yeah, I cry. She said, because you just seem so strong. You just take something and just run with it. I say, well, you know, I got to try to be strong. I said, especially for y'all get on my nerves. I got to try to be strong a little bit. But, you know, I was like, you know, I say at times, I go in the corner and I let it go. I said, but, you know, I let it go. And then I'm right back here with y'all, you know. So, you know, they was asking me that. You know, I told them straight up, you know. She was like, man, because men don't cry. I said, nah, this man do.
But it's harder to be vulnerable in front of your children than it is to be in front of a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like them more than anybody, like you said, all they see is dad and strength and strong. And he's the backbone. And if he break, oh God, what's that gonna do for us?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I get that.
My son just heard me cry. He's 18 now, but last year he was 17 at the time. He heard me cry for the first time because he was having some I can't remember, something was going on at school. And my son is a great kid. I mean, there aren't any real issues, but sometimes, of course, you got to, you know, kids, they're on the right path. Sometimes they start to veer off. I got to move you back on. Right. So at the time, what happened? My best friend's son had just been murdered. And the week before that, another one of my close friends, my crew brother, his son had just died from a heart attack. So I'm talking to my son about certain decisions that he's making and accountability. And I was telling him, I said, look, when you live a life of not being accountable, don't get me wrong, he's accountable, but in this moment I needed him to start, you know, taking accountability for certain things. And I said, when you live a life of not being accountable, you will be held accountable by either the law or the streets. And I said, it's stupid for you to make a decision where your best option is the law. And as I'm sitting there talking to him about this, I just lost. I was sitting there thinking about both of my friends who had just lost their son, but especially my best friend whose son was murdered, because the reason he was murdered was because of lack of accountability. He was out there in the streets. He wanted to be in gangs. He had just gotten shot and survived months before. And then he got shot again. He got shot, and at that time he didn't, you know, he couldn't pull it through this time. So it was, you know, I broke down. I broke down, you know, for the first time after my son heard me cry.
And that was probably good for him to see that, because then at that point, he knew that you weren't this rock who never expressed themselves or never, you know, felt. I think it's important for children at a young age to really know that it's okay for them to feel all the feels, whether it's hurt, pain, shame, embarrassment. It's okay. Embrace all of that, because that's going to help them to not just build character, but be good men in the society, good men for their future wives, you know, for their children, and things like that. And I think it's important for them to see that. It's definitely important. So one of the points that I wanted to make, and then I think Dr. Wagner had a question, but I think a lot of times we go through life and we've learned different coping mechanisms on this road, but we don't really deal with our problems, deal with our stuff. So I can honestly say that camouflage, whether it be drugs, alcohol, women, whatever, all of that camouflage is going to lead to sabotage. right? So we have to find ways to become okay with not being okay. Okay with expressing ourselves, okay with, even if nobody is there, I know that I can be there for myself in the very best way possible by writing in a journal. Yes, it's okay for men to write in a journal. It's okay for me to listen to some music that's going to help me to understand exactly how, it's a song. And you know, out there for every feeling.
Writing in a journal,
You know?
rapping.
Hey, but that's what that is.
Yeah, I mean,
You got to think about it. I was working with a lady, and she found out that her son was sexually abused by a rap song. He brought over to her the song and was like, listen to this. That's how they found out what happened to him.
Wow.
That he was journaling. That journal turned into a song, and that was therapeutic for him. Right? So we just have to find that right coping mechanism.
And it's okay for men to be in therapy. I have a therapist. And it is amazing. I'm telling you, it is amazing. I get for 1 hour every week to not have to worry about nobody else in this world except me. I get to talk
Well, we can
all
tell
about
from his socks,
me.
so.
Exactly. Yes. Since you want to bring up the socks, right? I'm sure everybody.
His socks have his face on it.
But yeah, but it feels good though. It really does feel good because I am the one that my wife has to get me about this. She's like, you always take care of everybody around you. Who takes care of Tyrell? Her exact words. Who takes care of Superman?
Talked about that. Yeah. You had a question?
Well, you took my question, but nevertheless, I want to just piggyback on Mondrea speaking to the difficulty with women welcoming and appreciating a man that's vulnerable. First, let's talk about and delve a little bit into what emotional intelligence is. I think people overlook what all it really encompasses. It's not just one being in tune to his or her emotions. I like her, he like me, or whatever the case may be. That also in tune to when you are a wreck and you are falling apart or you don't even know what's going on. You yourself being in tune to that. It also encompasses knowing that when you are not together and you're in tune to that, knowing that these people or this woman around you is not for your good. They're going to do more damage to you. So I say to our female viewers, if you are not able to solely support a man to the degree of maybe he's not ready for a relationship at that particular time, but you can still pray for him. There's other, things you can do. One of the things I personally do is if I think or know a man is going through something, or a young boy, I gift them a journal or something that is going to, help them out. But we are responsible, and I say to each of you men, and thanking you for your bravery, your transparency today, own your own emotional intelligence and not let women or other people own it for you. You have to be so in tune with your emotional intelligence that you can walk away from anything and anyone.
I'm glad that you actually said that.
First, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so we have this preconceived notion that when a woman is looking for a man, she's looking for a protector, provider, somebody that's going to care for her. But what's the flip side of the coin? What are we supposed to be looking for?
Well, what are you looking for? We can't answer that.
But y'all got the answer. Y'all got the answer for everything else.
So let me say this. I appreciate your question. But when you say y'all, you group everyone together. And no, seriously, because for me, it's about how can I, one, heal me, because I can't help anyone else if I'm not together. That's number one. Number two, we do ourselves a great, as men and women and people as a whole, we do ourselves a great injustice when we group everyone together. So I, as a woman, I can't tell you what other women are looking for. I can't tell you as a woman what men are looking for. You may be looking for a woman that know how to cook, clean. Tyrell may be looking Tyrell may be looking for a woman that just let him watch his sports and don't get on his nerves.
I'm not looking for any woman. I'm married. I'm not.
I'm just saying.
And she lets me watch my sports.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, that is true. Another man may just be looking for a woman that just want to be physically active with him. It depends. That's where communication is essential. Oh, you can. That's where communication is so essential. And when
Your feelings at home.
the views expressed by Mondrea. Thank you. So I feel as though I answered that question. You may not agree with that. I don't know, but as a woman, I can't tell a man or assume what he's looking for. What I can do, and I do, I ask him. I try to have that communication, and if I feel like that door of open two-way communication is non-existent, I exit left or right.
I'm glad we actually introduced women into the equation. Thank you for asking that question. Thank you. High five! Yeah.
All right, that's the dot right there.
Definitely thank you for answering that question.
It's pulling. It's turning. It turns. No. The whole thing just. Oh my God.
Technical difficulties.
That's fine.
All right. So what I was actually going to say and then ask the question, have you ever attached yourself to women who are toxic and opened yourself up to them being comfortable with your vulnerabilities only to have it increase your depression? Why do you think you were attached to those type of women?
Boy, that's loaded.
Ain't it?
Hell no. Me.
That's supposed to ask if you fell in love with the jump off.
No. Sure didn't. I mean, I just couldn't get into a sit down telling a woman, hey, I'm messed up right now. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. They're gonna be like, all right. They're gonna go left or right.
Exactly.
Out of there. You know, now all your opportunity is out the door. You know, and even still, even if you may tell her maybe a little ways down the line, she may stay, but I mean, you got a 10% chance that she will stay.
Less than 10%.
Yeah, you know.
Because men will deal with a woman that has a problem.
Right.
Women, on the other, like for instance, a guy date a woman with kids.
Some women, that
But
is.
a woman to say, oh, I'm not dating him, he's got kids. He got baby mama drama. Well, you got kids too, lady.
Right.
It's the
That's
same
true.
thing.
That is true.
So why is it different? Why is it okay for the guy to deal with a woman that has an issue, so to speak, or going through things, but on the flip side, a woman is not going to deal with a man that's going with, even if it's minuscule.
I do believe that, I mean, that's a very valid feeling that you have there. Do you also feel, I'm just going to say this before I even, because you two have to answer that question as well, but I also need to ask that I think it's important for us to, pretty much like Dr. Nicole said, we have to come to people as our whole selves before we can expect for them to give us their whole selves. So you have these people who are like, okay, well, we have a 50-50 relationship. That means you're half of a person.
Yeah, but
You know?
if you come to somebody as your whole self, that means your walls are down, your defenses are down.
But
your
what
guards
type of
are- so that makes
relationship are you
vulnerable.
looking for?
But
That's when you have to
trying
ask
be vulnerable
yourself.
from the very beginning.
When I met, and transparency,
Sure.
when I met my husband here,
You better
he
say
can
that.
tell you, he can tell you that I was authentic. I was as not the first day. Not the first, because the first day I was typical. I was like, okay, this ain't gonna go to
But see what you just said? Not the first day. That's what I'm saying. If it's not from the first day, then how can you make
Well,
that
from the
statement?
first day, you have to consider how did you meet the person. You can't have a full-fledged conversation about yourself on the first day that you meet someone.
That's true.
Unless you're going to I don't know. Everybody is different, but me personally, it wasn't the time nor the place to unpack all of that, right? So you have to be mindful of that. But when we started having those conversations, I would have all kind of 1,000 questions a night. Did I not? And with those 1,000 questions, I had 1,000 answers. Because once you live and once you start,
I just want to say this
once
show
you
is
start
so
dating, I mean, if I'm wrong,
You
say
got
I'm
this
say I'm wrong.
Slow down, slow down. We talked about this already. You know what happened.
I don't.
We don't.
Do tell us.
Okay, no problem.
It's going to be a man hurting here
It's a
soon.
matter about.
In her
It's going to be a man hurting here
Let me
soon.
see. You had your premiere. That was in the
Yo, I was there for that. I remember.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So see, you know where I'm going. I'm like, all right. So you had your premiere. That was in August, right? You met in July. Yeah, I didn't know nothing until like the premiere.
Talking about as far as what type, we weren't dating then, really. I mean, we weren't like.
Look, when a man do that, that's
You
pain
ain't
right
talking to me
there.
about him.
No,
When a man
we're
do
gonna
that,
keep it
that's
real.
pain.
When I met you, I had flyers in my hand. I was actually passing around the flyers at the block party. That was my purpose of being there. I wasn't there to meet you. Baby, I was happy. With me.
Boy, you know what? This is a
But
whole
as
different.
far-
This is a whole different story. Like, this a whole.
Listen. So what he's talking about as far as
Why did you cut him off?
because I gotta
he
give them
didn't even
context.
finish.
I gotta give them context. He's talking about the premiere. They don't know what the premiere is. The premiere was in the Silence documentary, and that is on Amazon streaming live. Go watch it. But in the Silence documentary was our story, her story, a lot of her stories, and the best way for me to authentically, truly tell you about who I was and to see if you were going to be the type of man to be fearful or take flight was to invite you to watch that movie.
And
So
that,
that's what I
and
did.
that was fine. However,
That man
Strong
can't correct
however,
it,
too.
however,
That man can't correct that night too. I was there. That wasn't.
Then he
no
was
man that was
right.
playing
Yeah,
games.
he was good.
even though
Go ahead, baby.
I caught everything on the big screen, we should have been like this talking about it. Yeah.
If that's how you feel, I mean, I respect how you feel.
And I said that before. I said, but it's okay. Because we're here now. It's too late now.
Let me offer. I want to offer a little bit of pushback on that,
My
on what you
response
said.
never changed.
Let me offer a little bit of pushback on what you said because, like, I mean, early in the relationship, do you feel that she was comfortable enough to open herself up to you like that personally? And on just meeting and not really knowing you like that.
Well, I wouldn't expect that like the first, maybe week or two. However, I would expect it before I would have went to the premiere.
That was a lot to unpack.
Right, it was a lot like, word. I was like that, but then I was like, all right, you know what? It's okay.
And what was your reaction like? How did you feel after the premiere? After you found out some deeper things in routines to her life?
I mean, it was shocking, but then I said, okay, all right.
Would you say it was endearing?
Nah.
Nah.
But it was a shock.
Okay.
But I was cool with it though. I was cool. I was cool with it. I was cool with it. I'd rather a person, hey, come talk to me. Let's go in the corner and talk. okay. All right. So now I got to find out this way.
Oh, okay. I understand. I understand.
But it was okay though. You know, we talked about it, got through it. So
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Because she'll come with a different story, but.
Actually, I'm not.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, I'm not going to come with a different story for the simple fact that the reason why, again, and I'm going to stand behind that, and I'm never going to change the fact that I said the best way for me to tell you without interruption about me and what happened to me, my childhood trauma, was to invite you to something like that so you can see for yourself. So any question you had after that, I was able to answer it right away. Like, is there anything that you want to ask me? How do you feel about this? So it was just easier for me to do that. Because starting a conversation, and this is for men who have been through because this is about when men hurt. Even when men go through
we heard that.
situations like that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand. And you, listen, those feelings are valid. So the fact that you feel like I should have done things in a certain way and it made you feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like...
blindsided?
Yeah, blindsided. You felt blindsided.
Yeah, that was then, but now I'm cool. That was then.
Well, I mean, it's over then.
That's what I said.
Yeah, it's too late now. Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
said.
like,
Yeah, so like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm cool with that. It's all right.
all right. Well, getting back, so this isn't the junior Wanda show. So, my point was just to say that there are certain conversations that you're not going to be able to encounter until you have build a deeper connection with a person. So, in saying that, when you mention how do you say this to a person, what type of woman are you looking for? I knew that if this man couldn't handle this part of me, then there's no way that I would want any part of him. Right? So, because you can't have me without knowing my whole story. Things that I'm passionate about. So when you put yourself out there and you're looking for women, people usually show you early on who they are. We just choose to ignore it. So if you know that you are still on a healing journey, make sure that you don't let anybody sabotage that journey. Because we tend to spend years hoping that there's a change in this person. And sometimes it is, but when they keep showing you over and over and over again, it's more than just their character, that's their DNA.
And to that point, those people and sometimes things and environments can be a trigger of unhealed or unresolved, suppressed trauma, pain as well. So just for the viewers, you want to be aware of that. If someone is difficult for you to open up to, I'm not saying on the first day, but pay attention to their behavior on a first date. Are they really engaged in a conversation? Because what happens if you get with this person? You're like, oh, I'm really liking this man or this woman, and now you want to open up, like you were saying, but she don't want to deal with that part. She told somewhere along y'all interaction leading up to that, she has already shown you she'll deal with you as long as it's at this level or on her terms. So you want to pay attention to that communication exchange between the two of y'all as well.
Absolutely.
Sound good, Doc. Sound good.
Thank
You
you.
said you had questions for us too. You're right.
What you call it?
You're right. You said a booby trap question.
No, the actual question, I mean, Nicole actually was asking as well, but the question was basically, have you ever encountered a relationship or been a part of a relationship where you found yourself being vulnerable with someone, and it's like once you expose that vulnerability to them, it's almost like they used it against you, causing you to get deeper
Every
into
single
your
day.
depression.
Okay.
Psych that up.
I'll give you a call after this.
You gotta go home. Don't call. I'm in charge of the editing, so yeah, I'll never see that light again.
Might be right now.
She might be.
I don't think I've ever had anybody use it against me because this is going to sound bad, but it's my past, but I mean, it's the reality. Like I said earlier, I was very manipulative. I was able to use my story to manipulate. I didn't even give them an opportunity to use it against me. But it was crazy. It was like a sick, twisted form of therapy for me to be able to manipulate. I learned how to manipulate at a very young age.
It's usually when it happens.
Yeah, like I learned to manipulate like in school. I was manipulating teachers. First of all, I should have gotten kicked out of school. You know, and I was able to manipulate them into letting me stay. And once I realized, and once I realized that what I was using a lot of the things that I was going through to manipulate, to always get things, you know. So with women, I was able to, and again, going back to being vulnerable, I never had the issue of any woman saying, or any woman seeing me as weak, because, boy, Tyrell, don't put your foot in your mouth.
I'm watching.
You gotta go home too.
No, it ain't that.
You notice he did that little corner look?
Yeah. What you be safe, man. What? So, my father put my first pair of gloves, boxing gloves, for me when I was 7. I've been fighting. I've been just boxing and fighting. Did you want to put that on? Nothing no more. All right. No, you don't put the mic on your stomach. Okay. Anyway. So,
that was
my bad.
No, that was mine.
We on the same page. I told you I was saying anything about food.
It was okay.
These mics pick up some stuff.
They will pick up everything. They pick up everything.
But with the women I was dealing with, they knew one that I'm a fighter, I'm a boxer, and and then doing mixed martial arts, Krav Maga. But no, the part that I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to say, some of the people that I'm connected to, very deep in the streets. So the women never actually saw me as weak, because you were talking about a woman protecting, or wanting a man that. So one thing, all the women that I've ever been with, they always felt protected. They always felt protected. For them, being protected went along with not seeing me as weak, not seeing me as vulnerable. So for them, it was, I know I'm protected with him. I'm not worried about anything happening, to me. And I would use that. I honestly would use that to manipulate. So what happened is, so now that now you know my background, you know me as a fighter, and you know that the people around me are, you know what they do. So now that you know that there's no weakness here, there's no vulnerability, I'm going to give you everything that would make it appear as if I could be weak and vulnerable without this background that I have. And now that you have all of this information, now I can be like, well, look, I suffer from depression, anxiety, I have PTSD, I have this and that or whatever. Sometimes I just want to cry. Sometimes I want to be held. And now they're like, well, if you with your background and, you feel like that, I'm definitely not going to see you as weak. And all of it was game. All of it was game. But what happened was, when I met my wife, I gave her the same information, but it wasn't game. I meant it. I meant everything that I was saying, but it felt weird. Because I had used the same thing as game. And exactly, and it hurt. It actually hurt me. It actually hurt. As I'll be saying the same things to her, and I'm like, am I trying to manipulate her? Am I trying, or then is this just who I am? Am I just a piece of crap?
Yes.
You know?
No.
See, I understand what
I'm
you're
just kidding. I'm just
that
kidding.
hurt.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I know with me, it was hard for me to kind of like be vulnerable in a sense because I didn't want anybody else to use their vulnerability against me. You understand what I'm saying? Especially with, you know, not saying that women would do that or the people that I dealt with do that, you know what I mean? But at a young age when you're going through a lot, people will use your emotions and everything like that against you.
Right.
And I think that goes with a lot of men. You know, a lot of men feel that because we grow up, you know, and we talked about this on the podcast before. You grow up, you know, you have to grow up with that tough skin. You know what I mean? When you fall down and you scrape your knee, you know, if your daughter fall down and scrape her knee, you're gonna play doctor. You're gonna play the best nurse in the world to try to, you know, nurse her back to help, hug her, kiss her on her forehead and everything like that. With our fathers, I had a father in my life, you know what I mean, for a long time. My father passed like a couple years ago. But my father was the military guy. He was the get your butt up. Get up, boy, you all right. Did your leg fall off? Is your arm still, you know, your arm still moving? Just move it around a little bit. Breathe a couple times, get up, get right back out there, you know what I mean? So that's how we was brought up. So, and that played a role in, you know, just growing up and getting older, you know. So
Yeah, and having a World War II vet for a dad. You fail.
yeah.
That's
I
all
think
they
women go through that as well. Because I know in my household, how you just described, if you fall,
Yeah.
that's how it was for us
Oh,
too.
yeah?
So it was always like the what you crying for? You stop crying, straighten your face up.
Did you get
know?
that from your father or from your mother or from both?
My father wasn't around.
Oh,
so
okay,
it was
yeah.
definitely the
From
mother.
mom, okay.
And I think in a lot of households, because of that dynamic, there are so many children who don't realize how they should act as they get older. You know, they don't realize that you know, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to feel. And it's just a lot of broken, messed up people walking around. And unless they encounter someone who is going to help them, we can't heal them, but we can help them to get on the right track, then they're going to continue to be broken until hopefully they get to a point where they can seek that kind of help themselves.
And that's the key for me right there, for me to respond, is that, and for our viewers, we got it wrong. It was done wrong earlier, and I'm going to stand 10 toes down on that. Our parents were brought up totally different era, but now we're in 23 going into 24, and it breaks my heart when I see young boys, especially grown men, that are missing opportunity to live a life of quality because before us got it wrong. This, you know, and we had the opportunity to kind of like talk about this before. The same compassion and concern that we give our daughters if she's hurt, even when she grows up and a boy breaks her heart, we care more for her or whatever. Our teenage son grow up and a girl break his heart. Most of the time, I'm not saying all of the time, there's always that percentage where it goes different, but most of the time, we tell him, it'll be other girls, go talk to that girl that you know like you. And the dysfunction build up, and now we see these 40, 50, and sometimes younger, and some go on to rest in glory in heaven, you know, never really healing and being able to love, being able, even harder than that, being able to receive love, you know, and that stems from a lot of stigmatization in society. And research shows that men are worse on one another when y'all are going through something than what women are. Is the fear of being ostracized, is the fear of being seen as weak, potential fear of being bullied, fear of being excluded by your male counterparts, fear of toxic masculinity. It's so much going on, and we see it on these podcasts, we see it on social media, I see it in the workplace, I see it in car. It is everywhere, and it is really hard. And again, I applaud and thank each of you guys, even you, Christopher. Because it takes self-awareness and it takes courage to even have this type of dialogue. And Wanda and I talk a lot about how people around us and in our lives show up for us in time of chaos and adversity. But more importantly, how do you show up? How do you show up, and how are you showing up for yourself in these times? You know, that's so, we got it wrong. We have to do something to rewrite the script, and hopefully this discussion today with you gentlemen is the segue into being the change that's needed and wanted.
Definitely. And also to add to that, I just wanted to make sure I put out there, just in case any other young boy or older man is watching, if you don't allow yourself to truly feel, you can never truly have healing. You'll never therefore have connections that you can be successful with, and we all love success, and we'll continue to suffer from the wrath of our unresolved hurt. So you have to get into the whole mindset of finding out what that hurt is, identifying it, giving it a name, sit in it for a minute, understand it, know who it is, what that is, and start to heal it. One day at a time, one day at a time. Every day it's not going to be, you know, a bed of roses, but y'all can get through it. I mean, the only thing that we really touched on today was grief. But the grief was so heavy in all of y'all, right? You found ways to cope with it, but you never really get over it. And because you never really get to a place where, okay, I've been through this person is no longer here. Have you ever found yourself, and I just have to ask, looking for that missing person in somebody else? Or for you, Tyrell, because it was your father, did you find yourself seeking relationships with women who had great relationships with their father, so that way that father could somewhat become your father, if that makes sense?
Well, when my father passed, I was already with my wife. So, and you know, I've had the pleasure, it's been a blessing for me. All of the men that I grew up around are incredible men and incredible fathers. I also had the privilege and the honor of marrying a woman who has an incredible father. He's an incredible man and incredible father. I've never had to search for it. But I didn't search for it for two reasons. Number one, nobody can replace my dad.
Of course.
But as far as filling a void, I never looked for anybody to fill that void, because I, you know, for me, I still talk to my daddy. I still have that relationship with him. When I'm going through things, it's a lot easier now for me to communicate with him than it was before. Before I'd have to pick up the phone or he answers the phone. Now this time if I need him, hey daddy, look, you know, it's just that's that easy for me. Sometimes, you know, I go to the cemetery and I'll just get there, and there's something about me that, yeah, I feel close to him because I know I'm only 6 feet away from him. You know, so I'll go there and just having that closeness, it fills that you know, it fills that void for me. So I never looked for it in anybody, in any other man. My uncles continued to be the uncles that they had always been, and that's what I needed. My older cousins continued to be that. My father-in-law continued to be that. Everybody just continued to be the men that they were, and that's what I always needed. So I wasn't looking for anybody to fill that void or to ever replace it.
That's good, and really, that's how it should be. That's what family is.
Yeah.
That's what family is, and you don't see that a lot in, dare I say, the United States. You usually see that in a lot of African cultures and Asian cultures and things like that. But it doesn't always happen like that here in the States. So that's awesome that they all were in place and did the right thing.
And always been there. That's all I ever saw was examples of amazing fathers growing up.
That's good.
That's good.
That's all I saw.
So what are some things that you men, see that's going on, the things that men are saying as it pertains to women, American women, how they're treating themselves and how they're treating women? Are any of y'all bothered by those things? And if so, what are some of the things that, as men now sitting here with us, discussing transparently your hurt and how you navigated through that? If you could just talk to the audience more so about some of those things.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on your question. You want to, is there anything that we don't like that we see as far as the way men are treating women?
How they're treating women, more so how they're treating themselves, because behaviors reveal character. People act out. So with how they're treating women or lack thereof is indicative of what's inwardly, deeply rooted, that's unresolved.
Okay.
So what would you and each of you individually say to them in regards to that about some of the things you see? And if there's nothing you're bothered by, then you can pass the baton to one of these other gentlemen.
I would say to them, be aware of your energy. I think, we hear the word energy, it's become trendy now, and I absolutely hate that it's so trendy because people don't really understand what energy is. They oftentimes equate energy with karma, and karma is, and they see it as action for action, but that's not what energy is. It's energy for energy. So oftentimes what happens is you put out an energy that is then returned to you or attracted to you. So if you are treating a woman a certain way based off of, so if you're treating a woman with a lack of respect based off of lack of respect that you have for yourself, then what's going to happen is that energy is going to be brought back to you. So now you are attracting an energy of a lack of respect. So now we have a bunch of toxic relationships. What I would say to that man is be very aware of your energy. It has to start with you. So, and when that energy starts with you, it doesn't matter how toxic she may be. You at that point make the decision, I won't stand for this type of toxic relationship. I will walk away and I will attract the very thing that is in me. But if you keep attracting toxic women, you got to go look in the mirror at that point.
Yeah, that's how trauma bonds.
Exactly. So that's what I would say. Be very aware of your energy and be honest with yourself.
And playing off of what he said, take the time to know who you are. You can't know who you are if you jumping in and out of relationships. You're not sitting still long enough. You're not.
I'm a player. I know exactly who I am.
Well, that's what I don't think you should be a player no more.
But at the same token, like, being a player means that there's something wrong. You know what I'm saying? You're not happy. What are you not happy with? What are you not satisfied with? What is it that's missing? What are you looking for?
I disagree with that, but I'm go ahead. I disagree.
Okay, so when you're a player, you're dancing around, you're having fun, you're over here, you're over there. You're not really settled. You're not really putting in your roots anywhere. You're not investing in anything. But what happens when it gets cold? What happens when you get, when I say cold, I don't mean temperature-wise. What happens when you didn't know you had high blood pressure and you pass out, now you're sitting in the emergency room?
Do you believe that every man or woman, to sort of say, is built to be in a committed relationship? What if I'm just happy not being in a committed relationship? What if I love being single and I don't want to deal with the things and the dramas and I can never say that word right. Toxicity that comes with being in relationships.
Well,
you know what I mean? What if I don't want to deal with that? What if I've seen enough of it?
But that's not being a player. If you're being honest with them, that's not being a player.
That means you're hurt by what you've seen, therefore you're afraid.
Exactly.
To get
going through
I'm not hurt. I just don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to feel the pain that I've seen. I don't want to feel the pain that I've seen my homeboy deal with walking in on his wife with someone else. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to commit myself to somebody because I can't trust. I don't feel like I can trust in that manner, and I just want to move around a different way. So that don't necessarily mean that I'm jaded in a way, or that I'm confused, or I can't make commitment. I just don't want to do it.
So is that a trust issue?
It could be. It could be for whatever reason. It is. It could be.
If it's a trust issue,
yeah, it could be.
But a trust issue is still a sign of pain. It's still a sign of either I've been through something visually.
Or
I
I've
saw
seen
my mom
somebody else go through
I
it.
saw my uncle, I saw my cousin, saw my best friend go through it, and I, like you just said, I don't want to feel that hurt. That's still a part of trauma.
But if I use my lifestyle to guard against that, that doesn't make it a bad or negative thing. That's me dealing with myself and how I want to deal with it.
And when you say guard, that kind of changes things.
No, not really. Not really. We guard against things all the time.
Yeah, but you're protecting yourself from something.
I want to protect myself from the pain. I want to protect myself from walking in. I don't want to walk in and see my wife or have to deal with something like that. You know what I mean?
And we're circling back around to hurt again. Be it something that you've experienced personally, or something that you saw, or something that you heard. So you're still functioning out of pain.
Okay.
Trauma.
Right? Yeah. Trauma. You know what I mean? So again, it's taking the time to figure out who you are. Sometimes you need to be by yourself. Spend the time by yourself. Don't be in a relationship. Go off and figure out what it is that you like, what it is that you love, what it is that you can tolerate, what you're willing to give, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you aren't willing to sacrifice. Because sometimes that plays a huge role in being in a relationship. Am I willing to make this sacrifice? Just like with having kids. I didn't have kids till I was almost 30 because I knew I was selfish. I knew I didn't want to go to the mall and buy these little ass Nikes. I want to go to the mall and buy these bigger Nikes. They fit me. You know what I'm saying? But that's just how I thought. So I'm going to protect myself against having these kids until I'm in a position where, okay, it's okay. I'm not. So I can be giving.
No.
It is, because
that just means you wasn't ready to have kids.
Exactly.
I'm recognizing who I was at that time. I'm selfish.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's me identifying my issue. Like, I knew that I want to, like you said, I'm trapping.
Your own energy.
So when you know what? I think I'm gonna move to California. I just up and did it. I have kids, so I can do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? If I got kids, that's not a risk. If I got children, that's not a responsible decision. You know what I'm saying? Right. But with no kids, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to hang out with her, I'm going to hang out with her. There are no love ties, there are no strings associated. I'm having a good time. But then I start maturing, and I start wanting more. And when you start wanting more, then you start pulling your guard back a little bit. You start being a little bit more open, a little more honest, a little bit more vulnerable. But you're still being selective because, like you said, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get myself caught out there. I don't want to do too much. And then you kind of go back to reflecting, you know, because I was in these streets. And when I was in these streets, shit, I ain't gonna rough my money. That's facts. So you don't want to go through what you think you might have put somebody else through, even if you didn't mean to. It happens. But, you know who you are. You know, so get in touch with yourself, and that don't mean go touch yourself. That means learn who you are. Know your likes. Know your
whoa. Yeah, wait. There's nothing wrong with touching yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything is negative here today.
I'm not promoting it. If you want to touch yourself, go for it. It's just more fun than somebody else. Especially if they ain't got cold hands.
So for the ladies in the house, real quick, you know me, I always take over a podcast sometimes.
Go ahead.
For the ladies in the house, real quick,
we're used to it.
How would you want your man to approach you in a vulnerable state, and how do you recognize when he's in a vulnerable state, and how do you deal with him while he's in that state?
Let me make sure I understood the question. How do we want our men to handle us when we're vulnerable, vice versa?
If you recognize your man or your friend or your husband is going through something, right? A lot of times women they'll ask, like, are you okay? Do you want something to eat or anything like that? What methods do you use to get that man to open up when you see that he's going through something and you want him to open himself up to you, to kind of like get that out?
Well, I think as you take that journey of relationship with your mate, you tend to know them well enough, and when they're ready to open up, so you kind of look for the right opportunity. Okay. Because it's not always the right opportunity to have that kind of conversation. I know for
It's gonna be a long car ride home.
I
Somebody might be walking on. You might have to take her home.
I hope you got a favorite radio station.
Stop.
So what I was saying.
Why you trying to make it like I don't open up to you enough or something like that? Like, what's going on?
No, but really, I'll usually do just that. I usually ask him, babe, is everything all right? Do you want to talk about it? I'll give it a few minutes. I'm one of those people that I want to know what's going on. I'm a fixer, so I want to know what's going on so I know how to address it. And I've really had to get to a point where I usually have to just try to wait until he's ready to talk about it.
Right.
And that's okay. I'm okay with that because that's what works for us. But I also know that if he doesn't talk about it after a certain point, I'm going to keep on asking because, you know, I think it's important to do so.
Let's, while we're in the middle of this, so when you're ready to talk about it is when she wants you to talk about it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's not going to be a conversation.
But you know, I'm gonna tell you one thing that I learned in therapy. I'm sorry. One thing that I learned in therapy is sometimes, because it's going back to me always helping, trying to help people. And I was talking to my therapist one time about me helping somebody, and it didn't seem like they were grateful for the help. And it was because, without going into all the details, but it was because of the position that I was in their life, that I felt that they should be grateful, but I had to do what I was doing because of the position that I was playing in their life. And I felt like they were not being grateful. And she said to me, did they ask for that help?
Exactly.
And
We
I
just
said,
talked about
We
that.
did.
I said, and it hit me.
Not ask for it.
Sometimes when you're forcing help, it's actually being received as hurt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
sometimes so.
and I said, oh, got you. I understand. What I thought, see, this ain't about what I'm doing, it's about how you're receiving it. So if I'm trying to force that help, and you're not ready for that help, or you're just not receptive to that, then to you, all you're doing is hurting me.
Okay.
All you're doing is hurting me.
And that makes sense because, you know, and that's why I said it has to be a point where he's actually ready to talk. And when you ask him, is when he's ready to talk, when I'm ready to talk? No, it's not. Because I know it's not going to be the, would you stop? Listen, because I know the type of conversations that I like to have. First of all, I don't like one-word responses. So if I ask a question and it's just a one-word response, that's not a conversation.
But what if the one-word response is what they feel at that moment?
So that's when I say I let it go, because that's not going to be the type
But
of
you just said
engaging.
a one-word response is not going to cut it for you.
No, I know it's not going to cut it for me. That's why I know that he's not ready to have that conversation. That's my trigger to say let it go, because he's not ready to talk.
But then you'll come back around.
I don't, because after a while, I know how to make him come around.
And with that, whoa. And it.
You usually start talking after a while.
On my own. Right, on my own.
Exactly, and that's what I want you to
Right,
do.
on my own.
Because that's what I want you to do. See?
Is she walking?
Yeah, huh?
Is she
You gonna take her home?
I'll take her home.
Nah, she got it.
Honestly, I think we have you have to have balance. And
That's true.
He knows the type of person that I am. I know the type of the person that he is. So I think we balance one another out because, I mean, he didn't have a life before me and now he does. So, you know, this is his life. Right?
Yes, boss.
Right.
That's the sound of a happily married man.
Right.
Yes, boss. I'm gonna take some notes. I'm gonna be with y'all one day.
The key word, though, is balance. You got to have balance. So, that's the key.
And you have to make sure, just to add to that, you have to make sure you're still creating that safe space for him and don't smother. I cannot stress that enough. Nothing's worse than smothering, man or woman, but especially a man, because y'all communication style is different from women. And whatever you've discovered about your partner, that let him know that it's still open, you're still there. Trust me, he will know, but you definitely want to make sure you create that safe space.
And know when the help hurts.
Were you talking about?
No.
Oh, you were just talking. Oh, because you was looking at me.
I have a question. This is very fun. What's more important to you?
Money.
Respect.
Power.
Breathing.
I already know the answer to this now. No, but what's more important to you? Love or respect?
Respect.
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 Yeah, respect. You know, for me, they go together. Because I don't feel like if you don't respect me, now let me pull that back. What choices have I made in my life that these are my only two options?
Well, for me,
I don't know. Let's talk about it.
I choose respect because I can worry. You're like, let me just ask this one. I choose respect because I can like and love something today, and then still in that day, I no longer have use for it. But the respect is continuous, and it's is non-negotiable unless I do something to sever.
If a person doesn't have any type of love for you, what gives them the ability to respect you?
Well,
the respect can also.
Why are they obligated to respect you if they don't have no love for you?
because they can be twofold.
And I don't think it should be done out of an obligation. It should just be because they are who they are and they see who you are and they appreciate and value that. If I have to force anything, then it's not natural and I don't want it. Respect or anything. It should just be natural.
And also, what's the relationship? Because the relationship is important here. Because there's certain people, like, you can love me, but if you don't respect me, I don't care.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So it really depends on the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and the closer and closer the people get to me, you better love and respect me.
Right.
You know?
Well, it is something that does go hand in hand, but if I had to make a choice, I'm with Nicole. Respect to me is like a square root, and then pairing us with measurement. If you got a square root, that could be different. That's the same no matter where you go. But a room can be different sizes. So it's levels to respect, it's levels to love. But I know if I respect you, I respect the Pope. I never met him before in my life.
Right.
Can I say that I love him? I love him because God tells me to love all people. But I don't have that personal intimacy with him. If I ever meet him, I'll respect him because I understand his authoritative role.
Right.
Right?
What
So
if your life
respect
depends on it?
definitely.
Meaning, if somebody, let's say that, since we're dealing in hypotheticals here, so let's say that you're in a position where somebody has to make a decision about whether you live or die. Now, all they do is respect you. Let's say it's between you and somebody else, and they got to make a decision on who dies. But they only respect you.
They love the other person.
They love the other person.
Then that's a choice they gotta make. That's not that. For me, then answering the question, that's not something I can control. Would I want to die in that moment? No. Is anybody ever really truly ready to die? No. But I assure you, I will go gracefully and proudly, and they have to then live with that.
But I follow what you're saying. In that
I
moment,
do.
one definitely outweighs the other.
It does. I totally get that, but I'm still gonna respond. Is that okay with you? Because the show is about y'all. Okay?
No, it isn't.
Okay, then I'm
Stay on
done.
and give you back next.
You know what? I'm going to say love. And the reason that I'm going to say love is because I believe through love, we can get to the respect.
Yeah. True. I don't know.
I'm definitely all for charity. That's what God says. God says that's what
Actually, he's
But
more right
I
than not.
definitely choose respect.
Because, and I don't mean to get religious, but look at it from a biblical standpoint. If I love you like I love myself, like Jesus said, love thy neighbor as you love thyself, then at some juncture I'm going to respect you. I'm not stealing from you.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
true.
coveting your wife.
That's true.
I'm not killing you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I'm loving you, at some juncture that's going to grow. And respect is going to be a part of that growth.
Yeah. So you'll take the love.
Again, it's conditional.
Well, I want my mate to love me, respect me, adore me, and everything that comes with it. But I also know because at some point you don't have to worry about him obeying. You don't have to really worry about obeying one another because he gets me. So I don't have to, just put that out there, right? But my point is this. I know he loves me and he respects me and he respects me enough. So respect goes up here in a relationship because if you respect me, the love is going to be so that you're not going to go to this person to get this or that or the other. You're going to seek that first in your mate.
However.
So you have to have some respect.
With that, however.
No, what you're saying is valid. Yeah. It's right. But you know that before you love a person, you start to respect them first. So then the love comes.
Yeah, that's true.
It's twofold. Because again, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jesse Jackson, just using by example. I don't know Jesse Jackson. I can't love him outwardly because I don't know him to love him. We don't have that connection, that relationship.
So there's respect first.
So there's respect first. My son, at first sight, first time holding him, I instantly love this child. I love him before he came out the womb. I haven't grown to respect him yet.
Can't be grow to love.
I gotta grow. That's gotta grow. So
that's good. That's a good example. I like that.
You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the person, the situation, the relationship, where you are in life. Some people are at stages in life where they might not be ready to love. So all they can give you is respect.
That's true.
You know, and that's valuable.
I've had that a lot. Like a lot of my friends, like real OG friends, you know. They always said to me, they said, you know what? I don't love you, but I respect you. They said, everything you do, I respect you. I ain't got no love.
And that carries more weight.
You carry a whole lot of weight. A lot of weight. And they always say, man, yo, you everywhere respected. Everybody respects you. So, the love, okay, you gotta love me. However, okay, yeah, respect me. Respect me.
I get it.
I want to respect you.
I feel like that takes you so much further.
But on the flip side, I've actually heard people say something that's happened within a relationship, right? I lost all respect for you.
But I still love you.
And that's why I'm not going to kill you. I love you. I love you. You're my family, whatever. I don't respect you anymore.
You be hanging with.
Yo, I just reconnected with.
We might have to reevaluate our relationship. I gotta tread it lightly, you know what I mean?
Is this podcast?
Yeah, like I'm gonna watch what I say on the podcast and everything. Like,
I'm sorry, Mr. Tyrell.
But you know what? I'm gonna tell you what made me think about that. So the other day I was with a cousin of mine. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We used to we used to hang out all the time when I was younger, right? And so then he's been, in and out of jail. So we reconnected and we were just hanging out, and I was asking him about some of the people from the old hood. And he said, and I said, yo, I heard that so and so got killed. And he said, yeah, he did, man. His brother killed him. I said, what? You mean?
Hold on for a second, because we lost some audio. One of the audio joints going on. I put the back of batteries in there. It had to go to just went out. One of the battery packs died.
Welcome to Relic Media.
It's not used to going this
real
long.
time.
How are y'all enjoying the show so far?
It's great.
This is great.
It's great because I felt like my life was in danger. Now I don't know. Looking out the door when I leave it. I don't see the red dots, do you?
They on the side of respect.
It's not red dots, it's green dots.
Green, yeah, you're right.
It's green ones?
Night vision, yeah.
The green dots are actually a little bit better, though. It's a longer distance.
Yeah, the yellow ones too. You seen the yellow ones?
Yes.
Ooh, wee.
How much they cost?
Ooh, wee.
Start there.
Actually, there's one that where you can switch between. It's blue also.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can switch between the red, the blue, and the green. I
I'm
believe.
going to
Yeah,
the
red, blue, and green.
restroom
Yeah.
while we wait.
Yeah.
Hey, but none of it matters if you ain't got nothing to use it with. You seen this doctor?
I'm gonna fire on this instructor. hey, is it here? And in the car.
Audio's back. Man. I'm gonna fix our mic.
I think I heard it.
What'd you say, Chris?
And we're back.
You said we're back.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying so
Mr.
as
Tyrell was talking.
as we were talking, I was talking about people from the old neighborhood, me and my cousin, and he said that, you know, I said, yeah, I heard so and so got killed. He said, yeah, his brother killed him. And I was like, what? I said, he killed. Now his brother, I had already cut him off anyway because he was a fool. But I was so we you know, that kind of sparked that conversation of love and respect. Actually, ironically, that was, you know, it sparked that conversation. And he was saying, so basically what happened was they pulled a robbery together, right? One brother, they both got caught. No, one brother got caught and snitched another brother, which was crazy because he's the last person that I would have thought would ever do that, but you just never know when you're facing that kind of time. So, he was saying, you know, I'm gonna kill him. He was telling everybody, I'm gonna kill him. Nobody took him seriously. I mean, you're gonna kill your brother. And then he went, you know, he did it. So, you know, we were talking about that, and my cousin was saying, he said, I could lose all respect for my brother for doing something like that, but I couldn't kill him. He said, I cut him off. So I will cut him off and be like, you know what, this ain't dealing with you no more. You know, he said, 'cause I still got that love for him. Right. He said, but I couldn't kill him though. And I said, I understand. I understand the same thing. I couldn't do that. I have family members that I've cut off. I've had people in my life, period, because I cut people off. I had to ask my therapist, is this like a toxic trait of mine that I'm able to just like, because I have boundaries and I don't always tell people what those boundaries are. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you cross that boundary, I'm done with you. There are people who, one of my boundaries is hanging up on me. You hang up on me, you're like, we'll never hear from me again.
That's so disrespectful.
Yeah, I've let one person get away with it. One person. I let one person get away with it. Yeah, now, I started it. Okay?
Okay,
so I let it slide.
So you
let it slide.
For it. All right.
Yeah, I let it slide because I started it.
It was retaliation.
Yes, yeah, it was retaliation. So I let that one go.
That's
cool. You know, but yeah, and then it also depends on the relationship too. You know, there's certain people who I want them or need them in my life. Mm-hmm. So I will try to repair that. But other people, you hang up on me. Never. There are people that have hung up on me and we were cool and never spoke to them ever again, you know. But, you know, for me, I just established certain boundaries, and once those boundaries are crossed, I'm done.
But like you said, you know, those boundaries are unspoken. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tell you what the violation was. I shouldn't have to.
But why
certain
does
things, because certain
that seems
things are
kind of
just
unfair to
not
people?
really, because okay, for instance,
I'm not just talking about boundaries. I'm speaking in general, and I think I talked about this on another podcast. Yes, I did. As it pertains to men, is if you don't open up to your mate, I'm not saying a stranger, but if you don't open up to your mate and you don't say what your boundaries are or what this is and what that is, and you don't communicate with her, you put her at a disadvantage. She's at a disadvantage. And that's unfair to her, because how can she be there for you? How can she hit the pause button or not appear or actually be selfish and be there for you if you're not meeting her halfway? You have in that moment, that act, put her at a disadvantage.
Pull it in.
My wife knows my boundaries. Again, that's something that's dependent on the relationship. The closer you are to me, the more I will let you know what my boundaries are. And also, as you get to know me, you start to learn what my boundaries are. You know, but when you get further and further out, you know, when you're not that close to me, it's easier for me to just cut people off. You know, when they, like, I'm fine. Like, I'm like, all right, I can act like you never existed. I'll see you out in the street like, oh, yo, honestly, and this is gonna sound really bad.
You say that every time you get ready to say something.
I know, yo, but and maybe this is something I gotta work on, but
It is.
somebody could be like, you know what? Nah, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. I ain't gonna say it. It's bad. I'm not gonna say it.
That's the way
Yeah, you didn't already started the car up, man. Yeah, you done started the car up already. Like,
No, this is bad. This is bad. I'm at a point where, this is me protecting my peace also. Okay, we should preface it by saying that, right? If I cut somebody off, I've made the decision at that moment that you no longer exist to me. And somebody could come to me and tell me, yo, you know that so-and-so is dead now. And I'd be like, all right.
Ain't that what cut off me?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And I won't feel a thing.
I don't see it no differently than that.
Now,
That's what I thought cutting somebody off meant.
Yeah. Now, I may feel bad for the people around that person.
But you're not going to feel it to them.
Yeah, that. All right. I don't feel the loss. I think that's a better way to explain.
Well, you no longer have
I don't feel the loss.
Because
Yeah, the connection is gone.
The loss is already, it happened for me.
Yeah.
When the friendship ended, that was it. So you passing away is just, okay, you passed away.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. You know what I mean?
And you know, for me, it's like, y'all gotta go.
And then I usually get stuck with the honor of having to sing me the damn funeral. So I'm up there like, man, I ain't even fool with your ass no more.
Singing your heart out.
Singing my ass off.
They may owe you $250 too.
Don't get me started with that. Now your family owe me money. On top of what you owed me.
I'm gonna tell your family it was more.
Well, I usually charge $100.
We almost at 2 hours.
Okay,
So what are
That was
some
production telling us to wrap it up later.
So what are some tips from each of you guys, starting with you, Mondrea, if you're okay with it, that you would give to the men that will watch the replay or are already tuning in to either start their healing process or the importance of it?
To quote a famous author, his name was Christopher Brown. These hoes ain't loyal.
That was the most prophetic thing he said.
You know, and don't take no wooden nickels out there, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take no wooden nickels. Yeah, part of living is making mistakes. So try not to make too many mistakes. Understand that you're going to make some, but heal, learn, and grow from those mistakes. And accept life how it comes. You don't have to say, okay, I'm in a bad situation right now, this is it. No, I'm in a bad situation. What am I going to do to get out of it? Come up with a plan, and you get out of it. Surround yourself with good people. Not people that necessarily love you, but people that respect you. And make sure that you protect your family. That could be simple as being home, being present. A lot of the issues that we face now in society is because the men aren't in the home. And we'll be quick to say, oh, because everybody in jail. No. That's a decision that a lot of us are making to not be there. You made a decision to be with that woman. You made a decision to have those kids. But now because it got a little hot in the kitchen, you want to run. Stop doing that. Stop blaming society for the things that we do. What's the old word? Man up. Well, man up. Man up. It's not hard. It's not hard to be a good father. Like I said, part of being a good father is showing up. The one thing that my dad did when my mom died was, instead of going to work all the time and leaving me behind, he took me to work with him. He taught me how to make money. He taught me how to be self-sufficient. He taught me how to not be dependent on the next person for how I'm going to get the next dollar in my pocket, or how I'm going to feed myself, how I'm going to take care of myself. If he hadn't taken that time to do that, I would have learned it another way. In the streets, from somebody who didn't care, somebody who didn't mind showing me the wrong stuff. And odds are I wouldn't be here right now. So if nothing else, just take the time for the people that you bring into this world, because they need you more than anybody else. Not the mama, but the kids.
I would say love doesn't hurt. I can't stand when I hear people say love hurts. Love does not hurt. If you think about all of the reasons, all the people in your life that you love and the people that love you, think about all the reasons that that love exists. And I bet you none of those reasons are painful. So always keep in mind, love does not hurt. It doesn't hurt. People trick themselves into staying into painful relationships because they keep trying to convince themselves that love hurts. And this is something that just comes along with love. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Love doesn't hurt. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, always keep in mind that the fight inside you is so much bigger than the obstacle in front of you. You're welcome.
I ain't got too much to say. But
I think of something.
I can say just you got to be real with yourself, and just know that when you're at your lowest point, you're gonna come up. One way or another, you're gonna come up. You know, we all been down. You're gonna come up. Might not be today, but you're gonna come up. You're gonna come up, and you know, don't always take no. Now I can't do this. I can't do that. No. You gotta, yes. You gotta feel it sometimes, you know? Just feel it, yes. So I think that if you be real with yourself and don't shy away from help as well, or trying to talk to someone, you know? Just be, as they say, man up. Because that's what people say. You gotta man up. You know, man up and go there and go talk to somebody, or you know, just come to yourself. Like, you know what? I need to go talk to somebody, or I need some help, or something. You know. But that's the way how we can deal with things within ourselves. You know, just pick yourself up and go back at it again. So.
And real quick to play off of what Al said, when you find yourself in that position, the hardest part is asking for help. Once you ask for the help, the hard part is over. You know what I'm saying? And always understand that about life. The hard part sometimes is owning up to this is hard. This really is hard, and I can't do it by myself. I really do need some help. I really need to talk. I need to let somebody in on what's going on, because if you don't, it's going to get harder. And we don't want to see it get to a point of being unbearable. This week right here marks another anniversary of one of my little cousins taking his life because he didn't know how to talk to somebody and say, hey, I'm hurting. I'm going through something, and mentally I'm at my wit's end. And I say this to my family all the time. I say this to my kids. I'm here. If you want to talk, if you want to cry, if you want to vent, if you just want somebody to sit in the car with you while you ride, cry. I'm here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not the only person that's willing to do that. But you have to let somebody know. If you don't, nobody can do anything about it.
The closed mouth don't get fed.
Absolutely.
You, sir, behind the camera.
Oh, what do you need from me?
Poignant insight.
Your insight to the male viewers.
As far as?
Some things they can do to start healing, or just if you want to give them advice.
Work on your stress levels. You know what I mean? Because that's very important. You know, one thing in dealing with mental health and things like that, you know, stress is one of the biggest killers out there. You know, and work on your stress levels, man. Whenever find that peace within yourself to help you to get over things. Because one thing about me is I dealt with a lot of trauma, and I have a lot of people that I talk to sometimes that tell me they can see the trauma in me sometimes, even though I don't always display it out in the open, but they can see certain things in me where they can tell that I dealt with a lot of trauma because I learned to deal with it internally. Remember, we talked about this before. I try to keep a positive outlook on a lot of things, even when a lot of negativity is around me, and that helps me a lot because I always, my uncle used to have a saying, when he was dealing with depression and things of that nature, he was like, man, he thought about killing himself and all of that kind of stuff, but then a thought popped into his head is, shit, I might win the lottery tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, you just never know, like if, I always look at things like if, you got to try to find the positivity in anything that you do, you know what I mean? And that's what helped me cope through a lot of stuff from my past and even to this day, I try to keep a positive outlook on things. That's all I can say,
Again,
I like that. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank each of you gentlemen, you as well, Christopher.
Oh, that's fine.
But before we fully close out, I want to say to our viewers, make sure you tune in on December the 16th in continuation of acknowledging our men in fullness. We have a male provider that will be here on December the 16th, Jovan Crocker, that will continue with the male benefits of getting health care and what men should actually be tuned into with a provider. For me, be aware of your triggers. If you're finding that someone or something is always triggering you and upsetting you, that is a little voice inside of you saying, look deeper within, that there's something that you have not addressed that needs to be addressed. And you will find that once you do the trauma work and the therapy work, you will find that your life will move in a more positive direction. You were ready to say something? Just move on. Okay. So, just making sure, because the show is all about the men, so I want to acknowledge them. As always, I'm Dr. Nicole. Love yourself, love each other, do so unapologetically.
And I am Wanda.
In the mic.
Excuse me, pardon me. I am Wanda, and I don't always say anything, but today I just wanted to thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for being a great presence. Because just having you here and we need to see more of this. We need to see more men who are willing to get together. When I was growing up, there used to be a store in St. Michael's called Acme. And I used to, even though it would work my nerves back then, the old men would get together and hold conversations same time every day at the Acme. And you don't see that anymore. That Acme is gone. Those men are gone. And I think that camaraderie that comes with men is slowly fading away. So I hope and pray that all of you were able to get something out of each other's story that's going to help you to go on with life. Because you'd said a lot of very profound things. And I'm hoping this is not going to be the first stop. I hope this is something that we can do much more frequently. So I'm just going to say thank you to all of you and to everybody who's watching. Just know that nothing that you do, nothing that you're going through is too hard to bear. There's always going to be someone who loves you, who cares, and respects you. And just know that here at Shop Talk, all you have to do is just send us an email, give us a call, and we'll be there. You never have to fight any battle alone. So thank you for watching.
Hold on, before we go, I want to thank you all too. I want to thank you all and Bree for providing this platform for us to come in, to be transparent, and to allow us to be vulnerable, and just to connect with, the people. I really, really appreciate that.